The Master Phil in Your Corner podcast is brought to you by philross.com. Books, videos, Master Phil's survival strong living supplements, as well as self-reliance and performance enhancement presentations. It is also brought to you by the Body Bell Method, workshops and certifications, the world's only kettlebell, bodyweight, and dynamic tension system that carries continuing education credits for trainers, instructors, coaches, doctors of physical therapy, and chiropractors. In-person and virtual options are available. Please visit bodybellmethod.com. Greetings and welcome to another round of Master Phil in Your Corner. This is episode number 135, and today we'll be delving into Stoicism and how it relates to people leaving you, people doing the wrong thing, and how to maintain our good, positive mental outlook. And we have a very special guest here today. We have David Kasper. He is a PhD of philosophy, and he's a high-performance coach. He's written several books on ethics, and he's a lecturer of philosophy at Rutgers University. David, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Phil. I'm excited to be here.
Pleasure. So tell the audience a little bit about your background and how you got to where you are right now.
Well, I was a philosophy student as an undergraduate, and after I got my PhD, I've been a philosophy professor. And one of the things that really got me interested in philosophy was the ancient philosophers like Aristotle and Plato, and the people, what they talked about as the ideal person, the person of virtue, someone who is courageous, wise, self-controlled, and so on. And at some point in my career as an academic philosopher, I got interested in something which most philosophers frown on, and that is personal development. And so I started to study personal development, practice it, and then about 5 years ago, these two streams of interest, you can call them, they came together. And for several years, I've been teaching and coaching what I call high performance stoicism.
Yeah, Dave, could I jump in a second, roll back to the part where you said that philosophers are kind of shying away from personal development? I mean, to me, it's kind of counterintuitive, right? Because you want a philosophy, you want to adopt a philosophy so it helps you live better and improve yourself. So why do you think that a lot of philosophers shy away from that?
Well, to become a professional philosopher, to get your union card, so to speak,
Yeah.
what you have to do is you have to defend a dissertation, you have to write things for publication, and the main thing that you learn by this whole process is you have to defend your views very well. And one of my teachers said, read your paper as if it's being scrutinized by your worst enemy. And so what that does is it makes you very careful in what you believe.
Mm-hmm.
And most philosophers rely a lot on science, and then as a result, they're going to think that many things in personal development are silly or foolish. How can you just think, I am going to be successful? But what I've found is that on many points, the personal development community has been ahead of philosophers and even other psychologists. And I can cite some instances where psychologists are making fun of personal development people, but in the end, certain techniques from personal development, certain practices, they have been embraced by the psychological community. And I'll just give you one instance. Affirmations. And so if someone says, okay, in 5 years, I'm going to be worth $10 million, many people would say, well, they're going to be skeptical of that. But that's exactly the kind of affirmation that many Olympic athletes engage in because they've been taught it from a discipline called performance psychology, the
Yes.
psychological study of elite athletes. And with last year's Olympics, I took note, I actually took notes
Hmm.
of what was said by some of our gold medal winners in track and field. And many of them would write down several times, or they have it all over their room.
Hmm.
2024, the year I win gold. So,
Well, let me
so
jump
even
in. Yeah,
even yeah.
let me jump in there for a second because as a mindset coach, I coach a lot of high performance athletes, and the visualization, this imagery, this putting up words, the words that you say to yourself, the posters you put up, the pictures you put up. I'll even have them draw a sketch of themselves with their hand raised in the air. These things all work. And the thing is, one thing that I think these philosophers are missing is the fact that the body does respond to the words that it hears. So if you're saying negative things about yourself or you're not saying positive things about yourself, the mind doesn't really discern whether you're fooling around or not. It hears that, it absorbs it. So if you're saying these positive affirmations, that's going to help you in your quest.
No doubt about it. And so this is one of the things that drew me to ancient philosophy in the first place.
Hmm.
And one thing I've discovered by studying Stoicism extensively over the last few years is the Stoics were way ahead of everybody on this because Seneca, for example, says, as your thoughts and as your acts are, so will your life be. And they believed it's important what thoughts you put in your mind. And in a way, it's common sense. But I think in the era in which we live, many people think, oh, it doesn't matter what I think. But then they're surprised when their life takes a bad turn. Sometimes it's because of the bad ideas they're giving themselves.
Yes. You ever people watch, right? And you see two people, walk. I used to go into the city a lot, not so much anymore, and walk around, and you see somebody, maybe somebody laying in the gutter, and somebody walking down the street dressed sharply, brisk walk, they look with it, and you say, gosh, how did one person get here and the other one get here? Is it a series of bad decisions? Was it, what led to this depravity? What led to this? Maybe it's a mental illness. I don't know. But how did they get there? What are the decisions they made? What were the thoughts that they had?
Mhm. Well, it's interesting because what I've been thinking about recently in terms of helping people to understand Stoicism better is
Yeah.
some really nice parallels between physical health, fitness, and strength, and mental health, mental fitness, and mental strength. And you as someone who's a athlete and coach, you know that when the average person says, "Oh, if I eat this, this won't matter," well, it does.
Yep.
And the same thing goes through your mind.
Hmm.
You think thinking bad things about another person, and a lot of people have bad thoughts about people they don't even know,
Hmm.
and all these things enter your system, and then the Stoics would say, well, you're making yourself into a bad person just by having these thoughts. And Marcus Aurelius, probably the most famous Stoic to us from the ancient world,
Hmm.
he made a point of being charitable and kind to everybody. That's a big theme in his book, The Meditations. He's trying to get himself to be kind to everybody. And you could see from his notes, he was dealing with people he was unhappy with, upset about, angry with, but he kept going back to, I'm still going to give the best reading of their behavior that I can because
Yeah.
we all know that we can get lost in, okay, someone did something to me, and then I'm looking for the worst motive. And then what that does to you is it messes up your thinking and your state of mind. And usually it doesn't do anything to them. But so So Stoicism is always very careful about what thoughts we think. And one of the great discoveries of modern psychology in the last 30 years is Stoicism has been vindicated on so many points by the development of a psychotherapy school called cognitive behavioral therapy,
Hmm.
and they put it down to a simple formula, which is what you think is what you feel. If you don't like what you're feeling, change what you
Change what you
think
think.
because
I
you're yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm a huge believer in the cognitive therapy. I just think that works. It just I think that too many people are hung up on this victimhood and wear it like a badge of honor. Oh, I have this wrong with me. I have that. I have this. Listen, those are all excuses in my book. Which we all could have them. We could blame everyone around us for every failure we ever had instead of looking at ourselves and saying, well, hey, maybe I failed because I didn't do this, 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 and this, and I needed to do something else. Well, let me fix that. Let me rise above that. But this cognitive therapy, I think is just it's got great merit.
Uh, Definitely, and the originators of it, they say in books and in interviews, they say we got this from Stoicism, the central points of it. So that's why I say it's a great vindication of the old Stoic school.
Hmm. Yeah, because in our current times, not only do we have the victimhood, but we see more separation of families. I see, parents cutting off kids, kids cutting off parents, and mostly I see a lot of these younger, kids. They go off to college, they get these ideals, and then they turn their back on their families. Um, and then what they do pretty much is they replace people in their family with other people who have a similar ideological, theme. And
Right,
it just says, if you're a parent or even if you're a child and you get your family turns their back on you and shuts you off. I mean, it's very difficult not to be mad. It's very
hmm,
difficult to feel good about it. But what I've seen, maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, but if I'm applying stoicism to this, and hopefully I'm applying it properly, but it's like I I have no business caring what someone else thinks about me. And if they
hmm,
don't want to be with me, well, then it's time to move on, no matter what the relationship is. And yeah, that doesn't mean that, somebody says something, you just cut them off or you forget about them. Not that you wouldn't try to be open to discussion with them, but
right,
if someone turns their back on you and cuts you off, how do you best deal with it? It's hard not to get angry, but
hmm,
then at a certain point, you have to let go of it, not let it occupy your mind, and just, hey, put it in the box, put it away, move on. Good. I'm looking at it as a good thing. Now I don't have this drain on my emotion anymore. I don't know.
right.
What are some ways of dealing with this?
Well, the Stoics have very strong opinions on that matter because they think even if your dad is a nasty person, you still owe respect to your dad.
Okay.
And there's a, and I know exactly what you're describing. Um, I have I have a sibling that is not talking to me,
Hmm.
so I know exactly what you're talking about, and I do see it because you talk to people and then they'll say something like, "Oh, my sister isn't going to be there because she's not talking to my dad," or something like that.
Right. Right.
And the Stoics say, and there's a phrase that people would say 30 years ago, and much less so now. They would say, that's your brother, that's your sister. In other words, they would not give any explanation beyond that. And the
Yeah.
Stoics would say, that's right, that's your brother, that's your sister. Be civil to them when you're with them because your family is important.
Hmm.
And so they would look at the whole situation you're describing. First of all, they're going to say to the people who are saying, I'm going to separate myself from these other people, they'll say,
Hmm.
no, you can't separate yourself from them. you are a part of
Yeah.
this uh this entity, this thing, the family,
Hmm.
and you they are a part of you.
Hmm.
So that's number one. The but how you would deal with someone who does that to you, that the Stoics are going to say they will agree with what you said. There is a certain point when you just let someone do their thing and they're saying, okay, I'm never going to talk to you, I'm disowning you. There is a certain point to that, but they would also agree that you should make an attempt to see, is there anything I could do that is there any discussion we could have that can make it better,
Hmm.
even if they're reluctant. Now, in terms of it being a done deal, and that person says, I'm never going to talk to you again. We're done.
Yeah.
We're no longer, father and son. You're no longer my father, or something like that. The Stoics are going to say a couple things simultaneously that may sound uh, inconsistent, but they're just intention in a way. So let,
Hmm.
let me explain, because I believe the Stoic would say you should still love that person.
Hmm.
There's no reason you should love them, because you do. It's natural to
Hmm.
love that person. And you also want to assess what they've done. And what they've done is one of those things that's not up to you. And so that it's like any other thing that happens. If you're driving and a car falls on your tree and,
Yeah.
crushes it,
Right.
it's just one of those things that happens. And that happens when people make choices that you don't like. And one of the things you have to get used to in life is things that we consider bad. In the Stoic view, they are not really bad.
Hmm.
You have not really been harmed by them, but you're just recognizing, I know I would love to be friendly with this person, either a friend or a someone you're related to. So at the same time, you just recognize, okay, it's not going to happen, and you have to learn to deal with it. And the Stoics have many ways we can talk about, but you also have to respect that part of you that, no, I do love them. And the key thing that enables you to do both is to say, in the Stoic view, they are ignorant. They're acting in ignorance.
Hmm.
And I actually think that's easier to show than some people might think, that they are acting in ignorance.
Yeah, you see people deal with it many, many different ways. Some people say, "All right, you don't want to be with me? Screw you. You're done. I cut you off. You don't want to be my kid. You don't want to be my parent. I'm done with you. Don't ever contact me again." And then other people, even though the one person may cut them off, they keep trying. They keep trying, and it eats at them daily, and and everything in between. This is just some of the things I've seen. I think there's a big disparity between the two different ways of handling it. And to me, I agree with that. Hey, look, and you still love this person. You're always going to love them. You should. They came from you, or you came from them, or whatever it is. Um, but let's say that person comes back.
Mhm.
They want to establish a relationship again. The thing is that can it ever be like it was? I don't think so.
Right.
Yeah, the things that when someone wrongs you or hurts you that bad, well, you can never go backwards in time. You can only move forward from where you are. And so, what does Stoicism say about that when this person comes back? And now, let's say you have three kids. Two kids been with you the whole time, and the prodigal child leaves and comes back. Do we, how, the two that you have that have always been loyal and with you the whole time, how, they're going to view this, they're going to see how you react to this person and say, gosh, if you're gushing over them and fawning over them and so forth, well, God, hey, dad and mom, I've been here the whole time. This is the one that, that stole your car and pilfered your bank account and took off. And now you're welcoming
Yeah.
them back and you're happy they're here, so Now, what is Stoicism? How does it relate to situations like that?
Well, the main goal of life for the Stoics is you want to become a virtuous person. Now, what does that mean? That means you are prudent, just, courageous, and temperate or self-controlled.
Hmm.
And there's a lot of things that come with that, according to the Stoics. And what you're moving toward more and more is, they say, the Seneca says the wise man is vulnerable to no injury. In other words, you get to a point where you cannot be harmed by another person. And they recognize, though, that you can be struck by another person, person can betray you, another person can insult you, but part of your search for wisdom and trying to be wise is you have to see the world a little differently than you do.
Yeah.
You can't see the world starting off with, what do I most hope for and what do I not want? You have to see the world in terms of seeing things as they really are. And a big part of it is understanding human nature and understanding, and the Stoics are pretty open about this. They say there's the sage, there's the wise man, and then the rest of us, we're all in the fool category. We're
Hmm.
all
Yeah.
fools. And
Yeah.
and the thing is, each one of us, everybody watching this can pick out points and say where they're wiser than their neighbor on something. But anybody who's not completely virtuous has some blind spots about where they're, where they are really foolish,
Hmm.
which they of course they don't see. So you do have to recognize, and I put it in the following terms.
Hmm.
Uh, there are a few things that I say everybody needs to know about human nature. And so, uh, would it help if I outline those, Phil?
Yes, that would be great.
Okay. Okay. So you could a good exercise would just be to go into every situation with this in mind, and especially when you're in a difficult situation, someone's giving you a hard time,
Hmm.
someone's confronting you, or you're having a hard time with somebody in customer service or something
Hmm.
about a complaint. These are four good things to remember. And the first one is the overall outlook of the Stoics, which is every human being is my brother or sister. So you start with the belief that we were born to work with one another. We are social beings. Okay, and let's get to the the ones that are really going to help you uh, with a kind of situation you're describing.
Hmm.
One of them I've already mentioned. Just assume everybody is a fool and say, okay, I'm a bit of a fool in certain ways, so you're a little more open-minded going into the discussion. I might have judged the situation wrong.
Yeah.
Okay. The next thing is everybody is always acting in their own, what they think is their own self-interest.
Hmm.
So that means the person coming back to you and also you, because you've been hurt by this. And lastly, everybody acts on how things appear to them, not on how they appear to you. Meaning, and if you just keep that one in mind
Hmm.
with every person you meet, you think you're coming off a certain way, but for whatever reason, this person's background, their maybe some psychological condition, they're seeing you in a different way, and they can't see what you're seeing. You can't see what they're seeing.
They
So
they
that
yeah, they filter you through, they see you through a lens.
right.
Yeah.
And
And
so yeah.
yeah.
So getting to your question, if that person comes back to you, you're
Hmm.
going to apply those four things. Okay,
Yeah.
this is my brother, right? Whether it's, actually your brother or your father or son
Right.
or daughter, and then you're thinking through, okay, I think what that person did was foolish, but that's not going to be the point of the reunion. The reunion is to see what's going on and see how they're taking things. And so I would say that, and also when they start talking, you're going to see it will be revealed how they're seeing the situation.
Yes.
Because if they start off with, you did this, you did that, you see, okay, they're still worked up about it,
Angst.
which
Yeah.
is understandable because they're human just like me.
Hmm.
And so I would say that what you want to be is measured with this person because first of all, in a little meeting, unless they totally bare their soul to you and apologize and they which I think is kind of rare if
Yeah.
they make because people justify their foolish decisions with a lot of reasons. So I would say the best approach would be I'm going to be measured. I'm going to be
Hmm.
a philosopher, inquiring what's really going on, and then okay, and then engage with them, and then tell them what you think.
Would you
So,
would you recommend listening to, like, pausing before you respond, before
oh yeah,
okay, like take a breath, um, process what they said, because one of the things I see with people, especially nowadays, they'll let someone else talk, but they're not listening to what they said. They're not,
right,
they're just waiting to say their response, as opposed to really absorbing what the other person is saying and then coming back with a meaningful response in as part of this conversation that can actually help to get to a resolution instead of just trying to get their point across.
right.
Yeah.
No, exactly. And just to back that up, uh, there's an important principle that's for the Stoic way of living, which is
Mhm.
something that's nobody can really deny. Some things are up to us, and some things are not up to us, and that's important in many ways. One thing that's not up to you is the way the other person is behaving, the way they're thinking, but one thing that is up to you, and there's almost no situation where it won't help you, and that is pause mentally. Because don't come to a decision about what they're doing right away. And so yes, I would agree, definitely pause, and you'll find yourself, if you just do that one thing, I'm going to pause and listen to this other person, and in relation to the other things I talked about, that's going to let you and people think, what do I have to say? What are the magic words to get my way? You shouldn't think about that at all. What you should do is really see what's going on and use your mind to assess without coming to a judgment or a conclusion. And a lot of times, problems with other people, when you're in a situation with them, will clear themselves up when you just make sure to pause. And then a lot of times you'll come up with questions about what they're saying. But no, I would agree with you that really listening to what they're saying, try to get what their perspective is as they're
Hmm.
doing it.
Hmm.
That could go a long way to deal with the situation.
That's great advice you just gave. That's I think that if people start employing that across the board, we'll have a lot less strife,
Yes.
and a lot more success in society as a whole, not just with the family unit, but I'm talking about across the board. You see people constantly in conflict, and if you pull back a little bit and say, well, what are they saying? Hey, look, but some people are completely insane though, too. But
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
and no amount of philosophy or logic will help the situation. But for the most part, there's a lot to be said for pausing, absorbing, and like you said, not trying to finagle it, but really come to a solution. Yeah, that's
No,
that's
that
super important.
that that is the Stoics would say that would be wise.
Yeah.
And they make another point because by coming into every situation with these four things I said,
Yeah.
everybody needs to know about other people. One of the things that you're going to see, and the Stoics say this, that if I start to get into a fight with you about it,
Hmm.
I'm bringing us on a level of equality, and the person who's being unreasonable or
Hmm.
aggressive, they already have an advantage.
Right.
So people think I have to resolve this, I have to say this, I have to get my shots in, right? My verbal shots in,
Hmm.
but a lot of times you don't. And it's interesting because people watching it they can tell who is being reasonable and who is not.
Yes.
So it almost never helps you to try to win the contest, especially in family
Oh yeah.
situations.
Yeah. So could you just hit those 4 points again for everybody?
Okay, so the first, and I know this is going to be hard for some people, and some people
Mhm.
of a religious background would say, "Oh, I totally agree with that,"
Mhm.
but the
Mhm.
key is you have to start employing it. When you go to work, when you go to the grocery store, every human being is my brother or sister.
There you go.
Number two, we're all fools.
Hmm.
Okay, and so you could say to one extent or another. And so everybody who's trying to be wiser, they're admitting, okay, I'm not wise yet.
Yeah.
So the Stoics say, okay, so you are a fool. Uh, Number three, the everybody is acting in their own self-interest, what they think is their self-interest. And number four, everybody's acting or responding on how things appear to them. And just in a conversation with someone, and there's an issue, it's a confrontation,
Mhm.
just by keeping in mind they're seeing things differently, that can pull you out so that
Mhm.
you're not because we all want, hey, you should see it this way, but
Right.
they
Right.
don't.
They
That's
don't.
just the fact. And so
100%.
just just keeping those in mind in a
Mhm.
situation or before you enter situations, it's helpful because as I suggested before, there's a lot of things people do that they really don't need to do.
Yeah. 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 It's funny, if you look at just look at all the different types of cars, all the different colors, all the different model styles. People have different tastes. People have different needs. Just by
Right.
just by looking at cars alone, right? Like, if everyone had the same thoughts, we'd have like one car. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
But so how can what are the books that you have? Tell us the names of the books.
Okay, so my main academic book,
Hmm.
my main ethics book is
Ethics.
called Intuitionism, and this is somewhat on topic, but it's a defense of the view that, and this is the idea behind it.
Hmm.
People talk about what is right, what is wrong, and
Hmm.
intuitionism says every human being, every adult human being knows right and wrong much more than they think. And I would say no matter what other people say, because
Yeah.
a lot of people think it's all subjective.
Hmm.
Intuitionism says the same way we know math, like 2 + 2 = 4, every triangle has three sides. These things we learn just with our intellect. The intuitionist says, I know that lying is wrong. I know that stealing is wrong. I know that murder is wrong, even though for you could say minor wrongs like lying or breaking a promise,
Hmm.
there are some situations in which, yes, you should tell a lie to the criminal who wants to know if they want to kill your friend.
Right. Right.
It's okay to lie in those cases,
Yes.
and it's
Yeah.
okay to break a
Yeah.
promise if your daughter has to be rushed to the hospital. So intuitionism is a ethical theory
Hmm.
that says no, there are complex cases that we don't know what is really right or wrong that
Yeah.
are controversial, like the death penalty. Should people be allowed to kill themselves, because they're sick?
Yeah.
Those we could say, okay, we're not really sure, but there's a bunch of things that we know right from wrong. And so that's my book, Intuitionism. It's kind of an introduction to the
Hmm.
topic. The second book is called Explorations in Ethics, and that's a book I edited with a variety of distinguished ethicists,
Hmm.
and it's kind of a range of topics in ethics. But I think intuitionism would be more. That would be uh, that would be something that more people would be interested in reading.
Right.
And
Start
so,
off with. Yeah.
yeah.
And
So
yeah,
yeah.
go ahead. Sorry. No, I was gonna say, how can people reach you? How can they get in touch with you?
Well, the best way to reach me now is on Facebook,
Hmm.
and you can friend me, you can DM me, and I do check attempted DMs that are not
Yeah.
in my circle.
Yeah.
So that right now, that's the best
Okay.
way to get in touch with me. And I have a group on Facebook called Stoic Practices for Success. And then, and if you DM me, I will give you a link to that
Yeah.
to
And
ask you to join.
what I'll do is also put that in the tagline for the videos when I put them out.
Okay, great.
Yeah, that'll be excellent. Dave, thank you for coming on. It's great stuff today. That was awesome.
Thanks, Phil. I'm glad you liked it, and it was definitely an interesting topic. I appreciate you having me on.
Well, again, thank you very much. And to the audience, strength and honor.